Hi, my name is Niv Avneri, and today I'm going to talk a bit about a tragic case of industrial pollution that took place about 65 years ago on the coast of the Shiranoi Sea in Japan. To kick us off, I'm going to share an overview of what happened, talk through the main objectives of this presentation, then dig into some data that will provide more context of the severity of the situation. At the end, we'll wrap up with some key takeaways. Minamata, Japan is home to Shiso Corporation, a local petrochemical and plastics maker. The company did not practice any safety measures when disposing of the chemicals coming out of the plant, and instead dumped an estimated 27 tons of mercury into the nearby bay. This excessive amount of mercury poisoned the sea life, including fish and shellfish that were fished and consumed by the population. Consequently, people began getting ill from the methylmercury poisoning. There were only 2,200 official patients who were diagnosed, but estimates assume that nearly 2 million people might have ingested a hazardous amount of mercury. Common symptoms of Minamata disease include neurological impairments such as dysarthria and ataxia, as well as sensory disturbances, issues with vision and hearing, and tremors. Studies also found that mothers who were poisoned could pass on the disease to their fetus. As a result, about half of the diagnosed population died from the disease. Hopefully, you now have a better understanding of the historical context of what happened at Minamata Bay, and throughout the rest of the presentation, we'll talk more in depth about the impact and outcome of the disease. Firstly, this is a helpful visual to understand how toxic chemicals from the factory made it into oceans and then eventually onto dinner tables throughout Japan. Acetaldehyde and vinyl chloride were being manufactured from acetylene in the factory, and the side reaction produced methylmercury. As you can see here, these chemicals were discharged into the bay a few years before 1953, when the first case of Minamata disease was discovered. At that stage, production at the factory only continued to increase and was only put to a close in March of 1971. By 2013, the number of total certified Minamata disease patients reached 2,977, spread throughout 3 different prefectures in the area. A majority of patients diagnosed died. As you can see here, the relationship between Minamata disease symptoms and level of exposure is explained. In almost every category, the higher the exposure, the greater the chance of a related symptom. Mental and behavioral impairments were the most commonly detected symptoms. Finally, just before the UN Conference on Environment and Development in 1991, a comparative analysis on the amount of damage caused by the disease and pollution was conducted. Not only did the methylmercury lead to great health damage, but it also impacted environmental pollution, including sea life. This all cost Japan a lot of time, money, and resources to repair, and of course, a community of people suffering from health damage and many lives lost. Since this disaster, the Japanese government has stepped in to help disease sufferers and their families, as well as help for fishers and fisheries who were impacted, and provide comprehensive medical treatment as needed. Shiso was required to compensate patients and allocate financial support to local and national governments for the damage done. To repair the environmental damage done, the government dredged a large amount of bottom sediment from the bay that still contained a high mercury concentration in an effort to regain habitual sea life. There is ongoing monitoring in the area to ensure maintenance, and as of 2011, water quality was found to be within quality standards in the area. Ultimately, the lesson we should take away from this tragic incident is that mercury, as well as other manufactured chemicals, must be disposed of properly. Thank you so much for listening.